He was always the most famous lawyer.
Yeah.
All right. So we're on record. Thank you everyone for your patience while we worked through some technical issues here in our hearing room. I will call to order the December 16th, 2025 meeting of the Indiana Alcohol and Tobacco Commission, and I will note that we have a quorum with all commissioners present in person. Next item on the agenda, the disposition of minutes of the December 2nd, 2025 meeting.
Madam Chair, members of the committee, we've received a copy of the minutes of the Alcohol and Tobacco Commission from December 2nd, 2025. I have reviewed those. Those accurately reflect my notes on the matter. I move acceptance of the minutes as proposed.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, say no. Motion carries. Next item, prosecutor's recommendations.
Madam Chair, members of the committee, there were 61 alcohol and tobacco fines collected this last term for a total of $41,800. There were 13 of note. The first is out of Muncie, Indiana. It is a situation where the police there investigated a shooting at the business, determined that it took place in the parking lot but began inside the facility. Violation for public nuisance was written. Parties agreed to a $1,000 civil penalty and 3-day weekend suspension of the permit. The second involves the Angel Food Mart in Syracuse, Indiana. And in that case, they observed an underage customer purchase alcohol. There were prior violations. The parties have agreed to a $1,000 civil penalty and a 3-day suspension of the alcohol permit. And third is a restaurant, a Los Portillos in Lafayette. There was a fight at the business where a patron was left unconscious. The officer reviewed the body camera footage and interviewed. Violation was written for public nuisance. Parties have agreed to a $1,000 civil penalty and a 3-day suspension. There are 10 violations of tobacco sales for hemp products. I just will briefly state that they are throughout the state: Lagodi, Spencer, Connorsville, Odin, Boonville, Indianapolis, Carmel, Mitchell, and Boonville again. All have agreed to a $1,000 civil fine and a 7-day suspension of the tobacco permit. I move acceptance of the prosecutor's report.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, say no. Motion carries. Next item, consideration of applications. There are 606 renewal applications.
Madam Chair, fellow members of the commission, I incorporate by reference this list of 606 applications. Those are for renewal. They've been recommended by local boards and reviewed by said staff with authority of the commission. I hereby move for approval of the same, pending any needed escrow hearings. Further move for inclusion of this list as part of the minutes of today's meeting.
I second.
Been moved and seconded. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. Motion carries. 60 new and transfer applications.
I incorporate by reference this list of 60 permit applications for a new permit or applications for changes in ownership or location or both of existing permits. Those have been recommended by local boards and reviewed by a commissioner. I hereby move for approval of the same, pending a final floor plan approval by the state excise police and an escrow hearing if needed. I further move for inclusion of this list as part of today's minute.
And I will second that also.
Been moved and seconded. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. Motion carries. 42 catering applications.
I incorporate by reference this list of 42 permit applications for catering. Hereby move for approval of the same and further move for inclusion of this list as part of today's minutes.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, say no. Motion carries. Next item on the agenda, one direct wine shipper application.
And I incorporate by reference this extensive list of 1 new and renewal direct wine shippers permits. Hereby move for approval of the same and further move for inclusion of this list as part of the minutes of today's meeting.
I second this one.
Thank you.
It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. Motion carries. Waivers of fees and for letters of extension.
Madam Chair, members of the committee, where there was a report regarding the waiver of fees for letters of exemption. I move acceptance of that.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. Motion carries. Next are items for discussion. The first one is CH 493022, the Bliss Space LLC. This is a renewal of the local board voting 4-0 to deny following failure to appear.
Yes, this permittee is here in Marion County. The permit expired September 18th of 25. They failed to appear at the Marion County Local Board on September the 3rd, October the 6th, November the 3rd, and December the 1st. I move that we uphold the denial for CH 493022, the Bliss Space LLC, and also note that they have a catering that goes along with that. That will be denied for CT 4932617.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. I will just note that they have an extension that expires on December 18th. So any events after December 18th will not be authorized to have alcohol. It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. Motion carries. Next application is RR 4536364, Plato's Nightclub LLC. This is a renewal with the local board voting 4-0 to deny.
This permit comes to us from Lake County. It's been before us for a couple of times for extensions. We did issue an extension, and then the business had posted to hold an event that looked like it could be a problem. And we pulled the extension. Then they came before the local board. They have had other problems too, other violations that resulted in 2 fatalities in the business back in 22. They came before the local board for renewal of their permit. I will note that there were remonstrators from the city of Gary and the police department of Gary who were there to remonstrate against. It was stated on the record that the mayor considers this business a problem, that it is a drain on resources. They stated that it's a crime magnet. And the local board recommended to deny renewal, and I move that we uphold the denial for RR 4536364 Plato's Nightclub LLC.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Is there any further discussion? I will just note, we sent it back with specific questions. The permittee had the questions before the hearing. It didn't seem like they had much, if any, information to provide on those questions sent back. So I'll be voting to uphold the denial at this point.
I agree with those comments, and would just note, and if the commission again said this, I apologize, but the vote was with the local board 4-0 to deny.
All right, with that, all those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. Motion carries. Next application is for RR 2930044, Pancake House Incorporated. This is a renewal with local board voting 3-0 to deny.
Yes, this comes to us from Hamilton County. There was a local board hearing scheduled. The manager and the owner did appear for the hearing. They had a violation. So it's a renewal with a violation. There were 2 violations. One was in 2013 where they failed a compliance check serving a minor. And more recent violation was in September of 24 for unauthorized beverages, no employee permits, no employee exams, no employee display of permits. That has been settled and resolved. During the hearing, they were asked about the employee permit those who need permits getting, and everybody there getting, training, which was missing, a missing item from the violation. And it was stated that no, they still have not gotten their training, which was a little disturbing to find out that they had a violation and they still haven't complied with getting, all the requirements under the law for that. The manager was a little uncertain about, where they get their alcohol from, how it arrives, who orders it. She seemed a little bit clueless when that was supposed to be part of her job. They currently have an extension which runs until January the 18th of 26. And what I'm gonna ask is that we continue this. Our meeting in January is because of Martin Luther King Day. It's on that Wednesday. It will be January the 21st. So I'm gonna move that we continue this until that time. They need 3 days to operate until that date. So I'm gonna ask that we issue a letter of authority for those 3 days. And ask during that time for this permittee, if council will let this permittee know that we need proof that training, that everybody has permits, that everybody has done training, and ask for a corrective action plan on the violations. And then we'll reconsider this look at the local board recommendation on January the 21st to see what we want to do with that. And that is for RR 2930044 Pancake Housing.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any further discussion?
I would just say that I'm concerned that they've been open since 2013 and they seem to have very little knowledge and understanding of the responsibilities of permits and renewals and how they purchase and where they purchase and operate. I'll vote yes, but I'm very reluctant on this. They've got to put together, for me, a very good corrective action plan. And this gives them plenty of time to actually do everything in a corrective action plan.
I think I share your concerns. It seemed like they were issued a violation, didn't take the violation seriously enough to correct anything, and then appeared at local board to address the violation without any information about how to properly go about purchasing alcohol, getting the trainings, any of that. So I'm somewhat torn because it's rare that we deny for a single instance of administrative violations for these, but typically we see our permittees get the violation and then attempt to address it. I think I will be a no vote today. I think the local board was their opportunity to come forward and show what they've done correct. So I think for that reason, I'll be a no vote today and
Certainly understand.
so
I do as well, and I may end up being a no vote come January meeting. But as of today, I agree with the extension.
If I could just mention also, thousands of our permittees are able to do these things. This is not an onerous request or suggestion or a set of rules and regulations. Thousands of our permittees do this every year.
Great.
okay, there's been a motion and a second. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. No. Motion carries 3-1. Next item on the agenda, RR 6342924, High Banks LLC, requesting catering hall designation.
Yes, this permit comes to us from Pike County. They did submit a letter, on September the 16th, asking for the catering hall subtype. And I move that we grant the catering hall subtype, designation for RR 6342924, High Banks LLC.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any further discussion? Not seeing any. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. Motion carries. Next item for consideration is RR 7131075, Filling Station Bar and Grill Incorporated. This matter comes on for a remand request.
Yes, the excise officer for this, St. Joseph permit has asked for this permit to come back to the local board to look at again. I would like the owners to appear, and they're going to ask them about the load food sales. For the past 3 renewal cycles, they have not met the minimum. This is a 209 permit, which requires $100,000 of food sales. They had, in the 1920 cycle, they had 26,000 in food sales, and then 22 to 23 cycle, they had 90,000 in food sales, and then the recent one, they're listing 40,000 in food sales. Another opportunity for the local board to review and see what's going on so they can meet the requirements to hold that permit type. So remand to St. Joseph County for that issue for RR 7131075, Filling Station Bar and Grilling.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any further discussion? Not seeing any. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, say no. Motion carries. Next permit is DL 2425982, Pavy's Grocery Incorporated. This matter comes on for an extension request.
Yes, this comes to us from Connorsville. It did expire August the 5th of 25. They had a first extension from August 6th to November the 3rd. They did have a violation back in 2014 for serving a minor or sales to a minor. They had paperwork outstanding, which has now been resolved. They are scheduled for the Franklin County Local Board on January the 20th. I move that we grant a 90-day extension for DL 2425982, Pavy's Grocery Inc.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any further discussion?
Yes, I would just like to request, I don't mean to sound like a broken record, but, as to other meetings, I would just like to request our permittees to pay close attention to the applications when they fill them out and to fill them out accurately, because otherwise it creates a lot of work for our processors and other members of the commission. In this particular case, they indicated in their online application that they had no other permits. And then they filed an extension saying, well, we're missing our other permit numbers, and they still haven't corrected their online application. So I think that issue has essentially been resolved, but please pay attention to the applications and fill them out appropriately so we don't burn a lot of unnecessary time.
I agree with that. It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. Motion carries. Next item for discussion is RR 4938051, OHSR Enterprise LLC. This matter comes on for an extension request.
Yes, this comes to us from here in Marion County. This business was denied by the local board in June. It has been a hearing held on December the 11th on the denial of that permit. The ATC upheld the local board denial, and then there was a hearing held on the denial on December the 11th. They have been expired since January the 5th of 25. They have had a number of extensions. Since this is hopefully moving along to be resolved, I'm going to ask that we grant a 60-day extension, and then hopefully during that time period, there'll be final action on this, the denial hearing. And that is for RR 4938051, OHSR Enterprise LLC.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. All those in favor, well, hold on, is there any further discussion?
I will be abstaining from this. I heard this on December 11th, and I have it advertised for submission of proposed findings of fact and conclusions of law from the attorney, so I'll be abstaining.
Moving that you will be abstaining. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. Motion carries 3-0. Next permit is RR 493659285001 Pendleton Club LLC. This permit currently has a 90-day extension. And we received notice of another, violation issued to the permit holder while it was on that extension. I will open that matter for discussion.
Yes, they did expire on November the 1st of 25. We did issue an extension from November the 5th through, February the 3rd of 26. As the chair stated during, this period where they are operating under an extension, they did receive a new violation. That is the 5th violation for this permittee during a 2-year period of time, a little over a 2-year period of time. They also had a violation in September of 25th. So the December 25th and the September 25th violations are both outstanding. They were, the charges are for, public nuisance, battery, smoking, manager's questionnaire, carry out prohibited, another public nuisance, and public indecency. Due to the fact that they have had several violations, haven't changed their tune, I'm going to ask that the extension that we granted be picked up by excise today. And so they may no longer, operate with their alcohol permit, and order that extension to be picked up and effective as of today for RR 493659285001 Pendleton Club LLC. Second.
Been moved and seconded. Is there any further discussion? I think I would just note, it seems like we're having repeats of the same issues, which is the largest concern with leaving the extension in place outside of going to local board and renewing. I will note that the violation that was already pending before this most recent violation was issued, they did just have, it looks like the settlement conference was just set November 24th. So we're in relatively close time to that being set. But I still think, permits need to operate in a way that doesn't draw excessive law enforcement resources to their business repeatedly. So given that, I will be voting in favor of picking up the extension. Any further discussion?
I just note that this was apparently Marion County Task Force operation, and they acted on it because they had received a complaint about what was going on there. So it wasn't like they just came in. There hadn't been not only a prior violation, but there were also complaints that had been filed with the tax force.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. Excise wasn't going out and looking for this.
Right.
It was referred to them to review. Any further discussion? There's a motion and a second. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. Motion carries. Next item on the agenda is RR 3930300, Miss Libby's on Main Incorporated. This matter comes on for an extension request.
Yes, this comes to us from Madison County. They did expire September the 18th of this year. They have a first extension from September 19th to December the 17th. They have no violations. They were waiting for some paperwork. We were waiting for some paperwork to be updated with us. And we have now gotten all the paperwork on the renewal. They have been scheduled before local board on January the 12th. I'm gonna recommend that I'm gonna move that we grant a 90-day extension and note that they have a catering permit that goes along with that, which is 3931774. And that's for Miss Libby's on Main LLC.
I just have a question. My notes indicate, having reviewed it, this is Jefferson County. The total Madison County.
Okay,
I may be wrong.
I agree.
I have it as Madison, Indiana, but not Madison
There
County.
you go. Right. Yeah. So it'll be Jefferson County, and I second the motion on the basis.
All right, it's been moved and seconded. Is there any further discussion? Not seeing any. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. Motion carries. Next item for discussion is RR 2411719 Peanuts LLC. This is an extension request that was continued from the 12/2 meeting. I will open that for discussion.
Yes, there was an outstanding tax issue, so there was a, extension issued. And that has now been cleared. We're not waiting for the tax clearance, but I will note that, they have had a violation, 2 violations in 25, one in August, for public nuisance. It was violent activity and calls for police service. There were some 47 calls. And in November of 25, for fights that resulted in chairs and tables being knocked over inside the business. Due to the fact that there's been 2 violations this year, I'm going to ask for a corrective action plan on this permittee. And also note that it's been placed on PACE. Hope they're having some strict compliance and working well with our excise officers to get this business turned around. So when you have 2 kind of violent violations close together within a few months, shows you need to pay some attention to what's going on with your business. I'm going to move that we grant an extension once, or I'm going to move that we grant an extension until the January 6th date and ask for a corrective action plan during that period of time. And note that they're looking forward for renewal on January 12th.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Not seeing any. All those in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, say no. Motion carries. Next item for discussion is RR 2011930 Wholesalers Inc. This matter comes on for an extension request.
Yes, this business did expire back in January 8th of 25, has been expired for a while. They do have had an extension. It was issued October the 9th until January the 12th. They do have an inactive registration at the Secretary of State's office for their business. They do not hold a current certificate of existence. They do not have any violations since 2013. I'm going to move that we grant a 90-day extension, and during that period of time, they need to get their Secretary of State's document up to date. And that is for RR 2011930 Wholesalers Inc.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any further discussion?
I would just mention that if they don't exist as a corporation, they have some potential for personal liability. They should actually get on the Secretary of State issue this week.
Agreed.
It sounds like from their extension request, they've been working on it with Secretary of State and DOR. There also could be tax issues if you don't actually exist as a corporation. So their extension mentioned that we were changing our policies. Yes, we started looking at this, but the ramifications for the business are such that this is important for them
Yeah.
to stay on top of. There's a motion and a second. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, say no. Motion carries. Next item for discussion is RR 4904-230 Workley Winos LLC. This matter comes on for an extension request.
Yes, this expired September the 12th of 25. They have a letter of authority which runs through December the 16th. There was some holdups on their renewal. It is now complete. It was complete as of December the 4th. They are now scheduled before the Marion County Local Board on January the 5th for consideration of the renewal of their permit. And I'm going to move that we grant a 90-day extension for RR 4904-230 Workley Winos LLC.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Not seeing any. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. Motion carries. We have 3 extensions to add to the agenda. Those are for RR 5233372, Black Enterprises LLC, RR 4938160, In Zone Bar and Grill LLC, and DL 7332384, Indie Quick Stop Incorporated. Can we take it by consent to add those to the agenda?
Consent.
Okay, I will show those added to the agenda by consent, and then I will call RR 5233372 Black Enterprises LLC for discussion.
Yes, this comes to us from Peru, Indiana. They had a couple issues which were outstanding, which they have now resolved with us. They did expire August the 27th of 25. They are now scheduled for the local board on January 21st. They need an extension to get through their local board period. I'll note that there may be a transfer that's in the work on this permit too, and that'll be taken up once the renewal is up to date on this permit. And I'm going to move that we grant a 90-day extension for RR 5233372 Black Enterprises LLC.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. All those in favor, or is there any further discussion? Not seeing any. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. Motion carries. Next, permit for discussion is RR 4938160 In Zone Bar and Grill LLC. This comes on for an extension. I am sitting as the hearing judge, so I will abstain on this one and turn the discussion over to the vice chair.
Do we have a recommendation?
Yes, this permittee just filed for an extension. They did expire September the 9th of 25. They do have a violation, 2 violations, 1 in 24 dealing with electronic gambling, and 1 in May of 25 for public nuisance calls for service, times unlawful failure to disclose interested parties. They have submitted corrective action plan. I'll note that even though this violation was back in May, they just hired counsel at the end of November. There has been a pre-hearing that was held on December the 3rd, and there is another pre-hearing that's scheduled early in January. Since the last violation, there have been no further problems at the business. There is a tax protest that is pending. I'm going to move that since this is now, they've hired counsel and they're moving along to resolve this. I'm going to move that we grant a 90-day extension once the tax protest has been cleared. And that is for RR 4938160 In Zone Bar and Grill LLC.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Oh, is there any further discussion? I just said that. All right. I withdraw my,
Go present on my.
I will withdraw my my request for a vote.
Granted.
There's been a motion made and seconded under End Zone Bar and Grill LLC. Is there any further discussion?
I'll just say I'm gonna reluctantly vote in favor of this, given the recent hiring of council, but it seems like a lot of delays and some serious allegations.
I agree. He did put together a pretty good action plan. Yeah, corrective action plan that seems okay, but I agree with your hesitancy on this.
Okay.
Is there anything further? Under RR 49-38160 End Zone Bar and Grill LLC, there's been a motion made for a 90-day extension subject to the tax protest. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? No. There are none. We'll show 3-0 with one abstention.
Next item is DL 7332384 Indy Quick Stop Incorporated. This matter also comes on for an extension request.
Yes, they filed for a renewal and they were told on July the 3rd of this year, September 5th. They appeared in person at the counter on September 18th. And then there was another email on October 29th, what they needed to do to complete the application and missing documents to renew it. And then we got an email on December the 15th saying, where's our permit? So they are still missing a Form 1 and need to update a question that has been pending since they first filed it. And also, it appears that maybe there was a transfer in works and that the potential new owner of the permit obtained a tobacco permit and that this current permittee may be using that to sell tobacco at their place. If they are, they need to cease immediately. They're not allowed to use that at their permit or place of business. If they want to sell tobacco, they need to obtain their own tobacco permit. So the motion for an extension, I'm gonna move that we grant an extension until January the 6th and ask that they get us the Form 1 and the updated question to get that to us. This has been outstanding for at least half a year. They've been told several times by us, so they need to get that completed. So extension until January 6th for DL 7332384 Indy Quick Stop Inc. And just note again on the tobacco permit, if they're selling tobacco, they need to cease, they need to get their own permit to be able to do that.
Second.
Is there any further discussion?
Yes. I would note, as Commissioner McGinn stated, they've been reminded several times since July of what was needed. Then they had, I'll say, gumption on their second extension request to say, quote, we inadvertently overlooked the expiration date on the permit. We will be more careful next year about filing renewal online. Actually, it says filling. Please grant us the extension. Given the numerous times we've reminded them what needs to be done, consistent with what I said earlier about, please pay attention to what's required. Please don't cause our staff to endlessly do work that should need to be done in the first place. I'm gonna vote against it.
I have a question that you suggested January 6th. Will that be on the calendar for that date?
We'll give them an extension until that date. And if they want a further extension, they'll need to come and ask. They need to give us the missing Form 1 and update their questionnaire. And
I think if I understand the motion, it'll be back on the agenda,
Okay, that's one of them.
but it,
they need to get, they have an extension until then. They need to get the paperwork taken care of.
That assumes, of course, our motion's granted.
yes. Yes, if I understand the motion would require them to update their application. I think one of the items we've been asking for since July, which my tally is that we've sent 1, 2, 4 emails and discussed it in person at the counter with them, you know, midway through this. And one of the items we've been asking for is for them to give us a list of their other permits owned. So they haven't been able to complete that task since July 23rd. But anyway, back to the motion. I think the motion is that if we're going to consider the remainder of the extension, they will have to get us the Form 1 and complete their application with that question.
Well, all I'm suggesting is kind of consistent with Commissioner Jones, who is going to vote against this. I'll vote for it so long as we put it on the agenda. And if on that next agenda, they have not fully and completely complied, I'll be joining them, voting no.
Well, and I think I have serious concerns about now the tobacco certificate is in a different corporate name. And as of June of 2025, Indy Quick Stop Inc. had absolutely no authority to sell any tobacco at that location. So I hope they're complying with that. If they're not, they need to immediately cease selling tobacco until they can get their own permit at that location.
Agreed.
All right, it's been moved and seconded. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, say no.
No.
Motion carries 3-1. Inactive files, there are 36 permits to be made inactive from 12/2/25. We are removing, I think that 36 includes already removed RR 79360028, RR 2919483, and DL 0828764. We are also removing RR 064086, Harmony Asian Bistro LLC. We did receive that renewal as well. So I believe that brings it to 35 permits to be made inactive.
I incorporate by reference these lists of permit applications to be made dead today and hereby move for approval of the same and inclusion of this list as part of the minutes of today's meeting.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. Motion carries. Next is just an announcement of the 13 permits listed on the agenda to be made inactive on January 6, 2026 if we don't receive renewal applications. Further announcements, we have hired a new attorney. Melissa was promoted and we hired Daphne Whitmire. She started with us last week, so she's learning 7.1 in alcohol law, but she brings with her an extensive background in criminal prosecution and litigation, and we are happy to have Daphne with us at the commission.
Welcome.
Well,
Yeah, so everybody welcome Daphne. And
Welcome, Daphne. Great to have you.
take it easy on her. She'll be an expert on 7.1 by next week or the week after. Start asking questions. Meeting dates coming up. There are no escrow hearings in December. So we will see everyone again on the January 6th commission meeting. And I will note that there are some other meetings that are moved in 2026. One of them being the second meeting in January. That will be held on Wednesday, January 21st. In addition to the other two listed there, we will also be moving the escrow hearings from May 25th to May 26th due to the Monday Memorial Day holiday.
It'll be on the 27th.
Oh, I'm sorry, we're moving it from the 26th to the 27th due to the Memorial Day holiday on the 25th. So it'll be on that Wednesday. We'll get the agenda updated for the announcements for the next commission meeting. All right, not seeing any other items on the agenda, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moving.
I will second so long as everyone has a good holiday.
All right, with that, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. Motion carries.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.